What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the J&A podcast. It's been a while, but you know how it is. I'm Aaron from the A of the J&A, and on the other side I have JJ Jeffrey. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, and it's good to be back. Yeah, it's been a while. Life happened, but hey, we're here.
Yeah. Okay, so today we're going to be actually going over a lot of different categories of who's going to lead most certain stuff, what's going to do certain stuff. I'll let you give a quick little description, and we'll get right into it.
Alright, so we're calling this the J&A NFL Leaders Predictions. So basically, there are different categories like passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, all that sort of stuff. And we're basically going to be predicting the player in which we think are going to lead those particular categories.
Okay, also, how do you want to go with the, so one of us is not giving the first answer all the time. How do you want
to? Well, I have it kind of broken up. I'll go ahead and just, I'll let you start first, and then I'll do, the next portion.
What would be considered a portion?
For example, I have passing yards and touchdowns as, the first portion for the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And then the rushing stuff for... Yeah, you'll see. And they'll see, too.
Alright.
So far...
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, you want to get into this, or do we got some stuff we need to speak of?
We have nothing to speak on. This is all about who we think are going to win. Who are going to be number one in these categories.
Remember, this is also some early stuff. Some things might change based on certain...
Yeah, all of this isn't set in stone. We're just kind of taking a shot in the dark. Some of these may be wild, some of them won't. Some of it might be standard stuff. That's the beauty of it, though.
Okay. You ready?
All
so
right.
We're going for passing yards. Some people won't expect this because of some stuff that's happened in the off season, but I'm gonna be the one to go out there, and it's gonna be close, obviously, like it always is. But not saying that this is the most special pick or anything, but this is somebody that that it's I like to go out on a limb for some people, and somebody did something last year. Big Ben, man, he's flying under the radar right now. Okay. Losing AB, all the off-season issues that's been happening.
Right.
And, that's normally what makes players shine, is under the radar. I mean, especially with teams that don't get spoke about, you're going to be talking about them in December. It always happens. And it's, Big Ben, he's getting up there in age, but this is somebody that could easily fly under the radar and do that.
Absolutely, and I'm pretty sure you knew this going in, but Big Ben led in passing yards last year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did have him in my top 3 for consideration, but I went with a guy who I don't want to say it's under the radar. I think obviously this guy is very capable, but I'm gonna go with Andrew Luck. So I'm going with Andrew Luck. I just like the supporting cast around them. They definitely upgraded at receiver. The running back room, it's a pretty good one. Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines, who split reps as a slot receiver as well. And then, of course, Eric Ebron coming back after a stellar season. And Jack Doyle, who was the number 1 tight end before injuries. I just like the room. I like the talent around Andrew Luck. Not to mention one of the better offensive lines last season. I just feel like all the ingredients are there for him to lead in that category.
All right. I'm a big fan of Andrew Luck. And speaking of being a big fan of Andrew Luck, for the passing touchdowns, I have Andrew Luck at number 1.
Nice. Good segue.
Good segue. Okay, Andrew Luck. You just spoke on him. I like Andrew Luck. I like him a lot, actually. Some don't know about what he could be. Injuries have held him past, but one healthy season and he accomplished. He showed that he can get that team. Not obviously it's a team sport, but he definitely helped by making big throws in big games and got them to the playoffs. So, you know, that's somebody that I can definitely see getting to getting the number one for the passing touchdowns, because you still got T.Y. Hilton, and it's very possible.
Absolutely. And I went out on a limb again in my mind. Passing touchdowns. It's going to be a little bit of a weird one, but I went with Carson Wentz. Similar to what I said about Andrew Luck, I like the talent around him. You're adding Deshaun Jackson to a really good receiving core. And a nice rookie running back, Miles Sanders. You already have 2 good tight ends. And you drafted a rookie wide receiver as well. We'll have to see what he looks like during the season, if he has a lot of playing time or not. But the tools are there. The offensive line is there. And I feel like for Carson Wentz, if he can play more than 2 games in December, he will definitely have that accolade, most passing touchdowns.
Okay, man. So, that was the first portion. Are we going to switch to? Will you go first now?
Yeah, I'm going to go first for the next 2. So, for rushing yards, pretty safe pick, I guess you could say. I went with Ezekiel Elliott. You could have chose like 8 or 9 different running backs for this, truth be told. But I just went with the safer option, I guess, because he is a former, rushing title holder for 2 seasons in his career. So I don't really have to break down Ezekiel Elliott that much. Just know that he is the Dallas Cowboys' offensive identity.
Yeah. Okay. Back on the train. You ready?
Let's do it.
The rushing yard leader. Would it be the 2019 or 2020 season? It would be 2019 season, correct?
Yeah, the 2019-2020 season.
It's going to be Le'Veon Bell, bro.
I love it.
Dog. I love it. Okay, now let me hear y'all. A lot of y'all probably just open those mouths like, wow. I know he's been out of action for a year, but unlike certain positions, what is good for that position of running back to happen, for them to have rest? And guess who has rest?
Yeah, guess who has fresh legs?
And guess who also traded and picked up some offensive linemen in New York. So This is going to be, that's something that flew under the radar a little bit too. I'm never going to, until he makes me say otherwise, I'm not giving up on Le'Veon Bell. He did what he had to do to get a new team, to get paid.
Right.
And he's now look at him. He's on a new team. That team was built not around him, but the team got built this offseason a little bit more. The offensive line got help, and that's what you need to get him to be a good rusher.
Right. So. Yeah, man, that's a good pick, Le'Veon Bell. Let's see, rushing touchdowns. Depending on who you ask, it could be under the radar. I don't really think it is, but I went with Derrick Henry. And the reason I went with Derrick Henry is because I just feel like he's going to get a lot of goal line touchdowns and a lot of stuff in the red zone. You got to remember, when Matt LaFleur took over the play calling, Derrick Henry started getting a lot more carries and a lot more looks. Obviously, he's not there anymore, but it helped establish an identity that Tennessee didn't have prior to all of this going down. And I think they're going to stick with what works. I expect Derrick Henry to start and finish drives and kind of let Dion Lewis do his thing in between. And therefore, I expect Derrick Henry to have a lot of goal line touchdowns and lead the league in that category.
See, what was crazy about that is I also had Derrick Henry at number 1 because of certain situations that he's going to be in.
Right.
And what's better for a goal line situation than having a 6'4" running back behind the line?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I like that we're thinking about the same thing here.
Yeah, because like some people would be like, Derrick Henry, what about like Kamara or this running back or that running back? Hey, man.
Yeah, but you have to think, what's the best way to use a guy like his size in the red zone?
Yeah, and then also, I mean, it was only like 2 or 3 seasons ago, like Garrett Blount had 18 touchdowns and like 12 of them were from 2 yards out.
Mm-hmm.
Not an exaggeration either. That's an actual
No,
fact.
that's the actual fact. Yeah, dude.
All right, your turn for the next two categories. They're both dealing with running backs.
Most receptions for a running back. And by who? What do you mean by who? And by who?
Oh, I meant to just say, yeah, don't worry about that. It was gonna be like a how many receptions will that person have, but don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
So you just want to know the running back, or the most receptions by a running back?
You could tell me the running back and how many receptions if you want, like for fun.
All right. So Devontae Freeman is gonna be the running back with the most receiving yards. Most receptions. I mean, my bad. That's my correction. You know, so somebody that's coming back from an injury, and at this particular category, there's so many players. Literally, it's not even about skill at this point. There's so many players who can just that can be open, that can catch a football, especially if their quarterback loves it or loves throwing it down, you know. But not saying Matt does that or anything, but you know, this is a little fun one I wanted to throw out there, just because there's so many certain running backs that could be in this category.
Right. I don't really think there's a wrong option for this one because it could literally be anyone. But I went with an obvious one. I went with Christian McCaffrey. I just went with an obvious one. Obviously, Cam Newton was cleared, I think today or yesterday, to start throwing or whatever. So I don't know how good his arm will be this season, but I still assume similar production from McCaffrey. So I just see him having a bunch of catches. That's basically all I gotta say about that. And then finally for you, most receiving touchdowns for a running back.
Most receiving touchdowns from a running back?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, there's so many different cool ones. I'm just gonna say Alvin Kamara. He had a decent number last season. And that's the type of running back that he could have been in top 3 for any category about running back so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, yep. I could say Alvin Kamara and be confident about it. That's somebody that can do everything.
Yeah, I went with Alvin Kamara too. It was pretty much. You got to think for these receiving categories for running backs, you hit it right on. There could be a bunch of guys for consideration. I just went with him. I feel like he's going to have a lot more targets, a lot more looks with Mark Ingram gone.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. All right, so now I got to start off with. Let's see. I'm gonna just start off with the next 3 since it's all dealing with wide receiver stuff. So for receiving yards, I went with Julio Jones. Obviously, it's no secret in the red zone, he faces the tightest coverage of like anyone. Like literally, if you sit there and watch the game, you know this. But I feel like he's just that guy who, number one, you could expect him. Yeah, he can get him there. You can expect him to have big yardage games, a lot of targets, and a 200-plus yard performance against Carolina. It's like guaranteed at this point.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how often this is going to happen, but that's who I had number 1 for receiving yards. Also.
Nice.
He gets into the end zone. He might not get the touchdowns, but he's the one that gets them there. And he's top 3 almost every season, even when he misses some games.
Even when he has like a broken toe, he's still giving folks the business. Let's see. For receiving touchdowns, I went with Devontae Adams. Like the last 3 seasons, I think he has the most out of anyone in the NFL. Last year, not saying if he would have played in Week 17, but I mean, if he would have played in Week 17, he probably would have tied Antonio Brown. But I think this is the year he just takes it.
Okay. I'm gonna say Michael Thomas. he's somebody that also, for receiving yards also, he's always up in the top arguments and top discussions about leaders and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And Drew Brees is definitely going to be looking his way in a lot in the end zone this year. And I can see him making a push for #1 for that category.
Yeah, and by the way, like for all of these, especially on offense, there's like 10 different options minimum you could go with.
Yeah.
For receptions, I don't really think this is a weird one, but I'm gonna go with Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not saying that Big Ben's only gonna throw the ball to him, but it kind of feels that way. Not saying that the other guys can't do it, but I feel like Juju's first year is like being the guy on the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiving core. I think he's gonna step up and answer the challenge.
We're saying reception. Oh, I got you. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say Odell Beckham. Odell's gonna be somebody that, you know, Baker's got a new toy, and what happens normally when a quarterback gets a new toy for the first year or so, you know, they want to try that new toy, and that new toy is gonna have a whole lot of receptions.
Good point. Like I said, no wrong answers really. Alright, so I'm gonna let you start off with the offensive line categories, and then I'll kick it off with defense.
Okay, when you think of offensive line, you always got these top 5 that you think of.
Right.
I'm just going to safe to say, I'm going to go ahead and say the Philadelphia Eagles for the fewest sacks. You know, obviously there's others I could say that's pretty obvious. But you know, they drafted another one just in case something happens to one of their offensive linemen. They went and got a really good one this draft. So I mean, that's the safest pick. Even with injuries, that's the safest pick I can say, because they got people to back up the injuries.
Dang, you want to hear something crazy?
What's up?
I have Philadelphia too for fewest sacks. Literally for all the same reasons. I just think they have one of the best offensive lines. And yeah, the Andre Dillard pick, literally in case anything happens to Jason Peters, they have a nice understudy, or Lane Johnson. And, you know, last year they battled with a lot of injuries, especially Jason Peters and Jason Kelsey. They're going to come into the season healthier. And I think they're just going to kick ass, man. Just a gut feeling. Now, who's going to have the most most sacks given up?
Who's going to have the most sacks given to something that this is one of the really only ones on this and for a long time anyway that I really couldn't. But it took me, you know, I had to think about it. So you got your. Let me just think about this for a second. That's really good. Yeah, this was a good video. There's so many I can think of. Yeah, I hate to say this, but you know, actually, you know, this is not going to be the safest pick, but you can always say Seattle. The thing that helps Seattle's offensive line is look who you got behind the helm, Russell Wilson, who's not want to make it harder for them to get sacked. All right, so you know, I'm just gonna say Seattle or Houston. I'm just gonna say Seattle. Okay, that's who I have Seattle. That was a rough one because there's so many that you know.
Yeah, I don't blame you. The one that I went with for the most sacks allowed, I'm gonna say the Miami Dolphins. They were close to the bottom last year. They have 2 quarterbacks who aren't really known for being the most mobile in the world, and they lost Josh Sitton last year via retirement. They drafted 2 rookies who are probably going to be asked to start right away. They lost their right tackle to the Denver Broncos. They have a subpar center who's been traded around twice in 2 years that's going to start. And yeah, I don't trust that offensive line. I like Josh Rosen. I like Fitzpatrick for like 2 weeks, but it's going to be rough.
Okay. Was it your turn to go first now, or?
Yes, it is. So, I'm going to start off with the first two categories for defense. The most sacks by an individual. I went with Aaron Donald again.
Yeah.
I know Ndamukong Suh left. I don't care. He was doing it before he got there. So, that's my logic behind it. It doesn't matter how you game plan for Aaron Donald. He's going to find a way to be disruptive. Like, it literally doesn't matter. There are pieces of tape on him beating 3 guys off the line.
Yeah. All right. So for this one, JJ, I had Aaron Donald. I want to mix it up a little bit sometimes, so I'm gonna switch it right now on the day, and I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna say Khalil Mack always the best option behind him. You know. Well, Khalil's also a beast. You cannot take that away from him. Aaron Donald definitely has a little bit of an edge, but when Aaron Donald's not available, I'll take Khalil.
Yeah, once again, nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's a reason
But
they
I
were
had
both.
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, once again, nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's a reason those two are always brought up with each other. Now, the most sacks by a team, this is the one, other than the next category, most tackles, that you'll start off with. These were the two I wasn't really sure about, so I went out on a limb. And the most sacks by a team next year, at least for me early, the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, I did it. I picked the Cleveland Browns for something. And I just wasn't sure, man. I had the Rams down for a second. I had the Chargers down for a second. And I was like, you know what? There's just something about Cleveland, man. And I had to put them somewhere. And, last year, Khalil Mack, who you just talked about, and this isn't me shitting on Khalil Mack, by the way. Myles Garrett also had 12.5 sacks. You have Olivier Vernon coming over. He was a beast in a 4-3 defense, and he spent his entire time with the Giants playing in a 3-4, I should say. Excuse me. And then you also have Sheldon Richardson, who provides a good interior rush. I'm sure they're going to be blitzing linebackers as well. They have Jannard Avery, who's kind of good at a little bit of everything. And listen, man, it's a wild one. You can make an argument for a few teams, but I went out on a limb and I took Cleveland.
All right, and then I'm gonna go straight into it. I'm gonna say most satisfied team will be the 49ers. They drafted, Bosa. Then you got, and didn't they get D Ford?
Yeah.
That's by itself is nice. You got your defensive tackles. It's all, they have that. That team could be a little surprise. We'll go into that at a different podcast, but that team could be a little bit of surprise of reckoning in this NFL, barring injuries. But yeah, I could say the 49ers. I like to mess with. I like to switch it up sometimes.
Absolutely. Your turn for the next two. Most tackles.
Okay, the most tackles by a player, C.J. Mosley. He's on that Jets defense now. Yeah, he got. It's more of a. It's always going to be a linebacker win. It's going to become most tackles because they're the ones that get in it. I had a couple players for this one, and I'm not going to say his name, but one somebody would say I was being biased. So you already know who I'm speaking of.
Devondre Campbell? No way. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, C.J. Mosley. I really liked him on the Ravens defense. That's a big L for them letting him go. And there's going to be even a bigger L when they see what he was going to do on this defense.
Remember when I was telling you yesterday I had a really wild one? Here we are. Here we are. It's that time for. I don't know how wild it'll be for you, but for me, I was like, this one's a little dicey. Let's see how this one goes. So most tackles by a player. I went with a player who some considered had a quote-unquote down year, and I had to dig deep into the realms of the AFC. and I went with Miles Jack from Jacksonville. Some people said he had a down year last year, and he did, because people kind of have like his performance in the AFC Championship still stuck in his head, and then last year kind of didn't build off of that. But man, Telvin Smith stepping away from football, that's tough. A little bit of an unproven commodity throughout the linebacking core. Jake Ryan's coming off of an injury, brand new to the scene. Leon Jacobs is okay. Miles Jack's gonna have to be that dude, so I picked him. With a little bit of motivation. So Miles Jack, if you're watching this, I believe in you.
Okay, you ready for mine? Or are you ready for my
most tackles for loss?
I'm going to go with Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is a really, really, really good linebacker in this league. He's I think he was up there. I think he was really close, if not for this category last season. He's not afraid to be physical. He's not afraid to show what he can do on that field, and that's the reason I have him here.
Nice. Most tackles for loss for me. You see, originally I had a defensive lineman, because I'm thinking more like run defense. So I'm just going to tell you who my defensive tackle was. It was Fletcher Cox. That's who I had.
For what?
Most tackles for loss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking more like run defense. Fletcher Cox, pretty good athlete, of course, overshadowed by Aaron Donald, who is just in his own category. Fletcher Cox is a better run defender, but obviously Aaron Donald with the pass rush. But Fletcher Cox is always up there and like tackles for losses for his position. And I didn't want to pick linebackers back to back, so I went with Fletcher Cox. But if I did have to pick a linebacker, it would have probably been Jalen Smith.
Okay. Which one will we be on now?
Alright, so I'm going to do the next three, and it is for, like, the secondary.
Who's going to do it?
I'm going to start off. Alright, so the most interceptions by an individual. I had to dig deep into the realms of the AFC. No, I'm just playing. This isn't a wild one. I went with Kevin Byard from Tennessee. He's always like towards the top end of that discussion, especially with the stats as well. Last year we had a three-way tie. And this year I just think it's going to be Kevin Byard. He's been a ball hawk for the last few years. A guy that they needed to create turnovers over there in Tennessee. And I feel like he's just going to be better and a little bit more consistent.
I'm just going to give it to Kyle Fuller, dude. This is one. Yeah, you got to think. Sometimes interceptions is luck. Sometimes interceptions is skill. Like, it's not always skill. It could be a deflect pass or a pick. I'll just say him. He's also known as a ball hawk, but obviously Kevin Byard was up there. He probably was number one for me, but sometimes I want to switch it up, and this is going to be one.
I'm surprised you didn't say Eddie Jackson.
Nah, he's trash.
Oh man, he can't be worse than that Kyle guy. But most interceptions by a team, I went with the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, they're pretty good at creating takeaways as a unit. And now you add Earl Thomas, who's the best ball hawk that we have in our league. Duh. But nah, seriously, they got a good core in their secondary. I know there's questions about the absence of C.J. Mosley. I think the secondary will try their best to help answer a lot of those questions.
Who did I just have? Literally, I had it in my head. New York Jets. That's gonna be a little surprise team. It's going to be up there. It's okay to have surprises sometimes, JJ. I hear you breathing hard over there. You know, I don't always want to be the guy that says the team that's probably going to win it. I want to be weird sometimes, you know. And this is one I'm going to be weird with.
All right, interesting. The New York Jets with the most interceptions by a team. All right, let's see. Most passes defended or pass breakups. I had to dig deep into the AFC again. But nah, seriously. I had to go with a guy that we both like, who didn't get that $15 million he thought he was going to get. Our boy Chris Harris Jr. He's always towards the top end of that conversation. I think it was Stephon Gilmore last year. And with the addition of Bryce Callahan to the defense for the Broncos, I feel like Chris Harris is going to see a little bit more action on the boundary compared to last year, because he was playing a lot in the slot. And I think it'll create more opportunities for him. And he'll be back to playing at that higher level.
I'll just go ahead and say, Jalen Ramsey. You know, I have mixed opinions about Jalen. Sometimes, you know, he's as good as people think he is. Sometimes he just has it off, which I guess everybody can and will have their off days, you know. But, Jalen Ramsey, you know, I do got to give credit to him. He normally is always near the receiver. He doesn't really get burnt that much. And that's what you need to do to get pass breakups, is you need to be on the receiver. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for this one.
Alright, so the final two categories, it's on you. Most quarterback pressures by an individual.
Okay, I got you. You know, dude, Khalil Mack, I know I said the same thing, but you got, literally, he was, what, wasn't he like, literally he was up there in like at least top 2 last season in quarterback pressures.
Yeah, pretty high up there.
He's always there. Like, he might not get the sacks, but he is, you know, he's definitely known on that football field. And I didn't even have to think about it. Khalil Mack, dude. He's number 1 this season, if he isn't, or if and when he will be number 1 for sacks, other than Aaron Donald.
Not to steal a page out of your book, but I feel like for this one, I had the same answer, but I feel like I'm going to be different. I'm going to go with Von Miller. We have yet to show this man any love. We've been talking about Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, Fletcher Cox, and Von Miller's just sitting over there like, did I die? Did I retire or something? And, you know, the brains behind the Bears defense, not the guy who like went out there and actually played defense, but the guy who kind of put it all together, he's going to be coaching Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. And I don't think that's being talked about enough. And Von Miller was a beast. Last couple of years, he's been consistent, but not really superstar status. And who knows, maybe this year, this stat will help him kind of return to that for a little bit.
Alright, so for team pressures, honestly, JJ, this is the same thing as pretty much for sacks, because I'm going to have the same answer. 49ers. If they don't get number 1 on sacks, they're going to be right there for pressures anyways. And that's how I feel. That's how I have that going. I'm just gonna say 49ers again. That's a safe pick for me. Not switching anything up because it's, you know.
All right, so there's a theme here. I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I think they will be in the conversation for most sacks. I just didn't put them there. I wanted to be bold and different. But Philadelphia, they lost Michael Bennett. No big deal. We'll just draft Sharif Miller. Oh, man, we lost Chris Long. No big deal. We'll just go sign Malik Jackson. Like, they keep adding depth to places they're already strong at. And they re-signed Timmy Jernigan. So it's like, they just continue to have this awesome depth on their defensive line. They can throw out any rotation they want to, it seems like. And even if they're not getting home, they're going to make it tough. The Eagles have done a great job the last 2 or 3 seasons of really dominating the line of scrimmage. And I think they're going to have to continue to do that.
Yeah. That's how it always going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's really like it.
That's it, ain't it?
Yeah, man. It's pretty much it.
Alright, well, we want to wrap this up, or how we need something to talk about?
We're going to wrap this up, man.
Alright, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hope you guys have enjoyed this edition of the JNA podcast. If you have anything against it, fuck y'all are pussies.
Yeah, y'all really don't want it.
Somebody get on the damn show, bro. That's all we have.
Well, you got to think, when they do, they leave.
Right? Oh my god, everybody that joined has left. You realize that?
Because they can't handle the pressure.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, man, what Aaron's basically trying to say is, if y'all disagree with anything that we're saying, come on here and tell us what you agree with. Put up a decent argument. I know you'll stay up the night before to piece it together, when y'all should be doing that for your damn school projects. But it's okay. Y'all got something to say, y'all can come on here and say it. But yeah, Aaron, let's do it.
So I hope you guys have enjoyed that, like, for real talk. So I guess peace out, guys.
Peace out.